still remember it was September 23rd, 2011. The very first time I stepped into NTU Toastmasters. It was also the very first time we used this room, the lock venue, as our meeting place. Tonight is the second time in history we hold our meeting here. It's the same place, the same time as I first came. But I've changed from an audience to someone whom I've never imagined before. My friends often ask me, why did I choose to stay in a club for such a long time? I told him that I would probably stay until I graduate from university. So that's 7 years. For them, it's hard to imagine why I would choose to stay in only one club for 7 years. Didn't I ever have doubts? In fact, yes. In the past, I sometimes feel a little bit confused and tired from time to time. So what's the motivation that kept me going on? Back to the day when I first came here. In that demo meeting, I was deeply inspired by how a speaker could influence others and how magical words can fill people with laughter and warmness. I was full of dreams and ambitions then, and I set up a goal to become an inspiring, yet interesting speaker in the future. And I plan to finish my C10 within 2 years. After my first speech in Freshman Cup, I was full of hope. I believed I can overcome my weaknesses of nervousness and the lack of confidence I have on stage. And I did improve step by step as I prepared all-heartedly for every single speech. And the following semester, I took on an officer role as a deputy. Life in NTU Toastmaster seemed to be flawless, and the future was bright and promising. But as time went by, I started to hide myself behind the shield for officers. I took being an officer as an excuse, and I told myself, oh, it's completely reasonable that I don't have time to prepare for a speech since I'm so busy. But the fact was, it was laziness that kept me from improving. So week after week, I came to the meetings on Friday night. I did my official work, and then I went home. I became numb of what I heard from the speakers, and gradually, I forgot about the influential speaker I once longed to become. But I didn't realize the fact then. I just felt that meetings seemed to be more and more tedious, and I gained less and less from them. I started to wonder, why do I spend 3 hours every week staying here on Friday nights? If I choose to do something else, wouldn't it be more meaningful? During those days, I was a little bit disoriented and distressed. The only thing that kept me staying here and coming to meetings every night is to see the wonderful friends I have here. One day, I finally took an individual evaluation position because I can no longer stand spending time just as an audience. At that time, I didn't know it was a big step for me, but it turned out to be a way out for myself. I started to gain a little bit of that passion and excitement back after I threw myself on stage. And I started to pay more attention to other speakers and evaluators because I wanted to learn from them after discovering my own insufficiencies. I initiated a virtual circle without even noticing it. I observed and listened carefully to every speaker once again. I absorbed some of their strengths and tried to merge it into my next presentation. So gradually, I started to make progress, and I found the sense of accomplishment again. What's more, after getting used to the exposure on stage. The pressure I felt on stage lessened. So I expanded my comfort zone and created more opportunities for myself. For example, I went club visiting and found many inspiring role models in other Toastmasters. I joined contests to broaden my horizons. Eventually, coming onto the stage became more of a delight for me instead of a burden. I found my initial aspiration again and found the reason of staying here. I was like a mountain climber hiking on the trail. At first, I was amazed by the beauty of the surrounding summits. But as time went by, I concentrated only on the path beneath my feet. One day, I looked up again and suddenly found that there were thousands of marvelous mountains lying ahead of me, waiting to be marveled at and explored. Although the road to my ideal self meandered along the way, I'm finally back on my original track now, thanks to this stage, and most importantly, the friends who always keep me accompanied and inspire me. Looking back on the day I first stepped into this room, I've changed a lot. I feel more at ease on stage now, and I love NTU Toastmasters even more. No matter how confused we might have been along the way, I believe we could all find the right track that put us back to our initial aspirations eventually. Contest chair.